See,
because hold on, stop.
No, hold on a second. This is
you
because you just
interrupt
brought-
way too much. You need to stop.
This is one of the most bizarre Joe Rogan podcasts because usually Joe Rogan doesn't get very mad. But in this episode with Steven Crowder, Joe Rogan completely loses it.
I probably wouldn't talk about the marijuana issue.
That
I wouldn't care. Because here's the thing. I don't care about it. I
one
really
way
don't.
or the other.
It all started when they began discussing the benefits of marijuana. Steven Crowder jumped in and said most of the marijuana benefits are just lies. Since Joe Rogan actually uses it and talks about it openly, you could tell he didn't take that lightly and immediately pressed Steven over that claim.
But my issue with it is when, and we saw this in Montreal, I talked about it when people lie about it and they're dishonest with their voting constituency.
Like how so?
Well, saying, it's medicine for A, B, C, or D. It may be medicine for A, but not for B, C, or D.
What are the B, C's, and D's?
Well,
what are the things that's not medicine
an example.
for?
Well, you're asking me what I wouldn't talk about, and
Right.
asking me to defend it.
No,
My
but
point is, I don't really care about it.
But what are the B, C's, and D? What you said
It
it's
cures
specific.
cancer.
From this moment on, you could feel the whole vibe shift. The room tension changed and the back and forth wasn't calm anymore. Both of them started giving off that angry energy.
Well, there has been shown
it helps with cancer about as much as turmeric and ginger. Those things
all
help
those
with cancer.
anti-inflammatory
Yeah,
things.
I know, but it's not a prescription.
But CBD has been shown
With
to have
seizures.
tremendous benefits for cancer and non-psychoactive.
Yeah, and certainly with seizures. I have zero
Yes.
problem with CBD being
Okay.
legalized. But my
Which is
issue
also cannabis.
I'll have to, I feel the need to call people out in bullshit when they say, well, the reason it's not is because of big pharmaceutical companies. I go, hold on a second. There are 7 patents on chemical compounds for marijuana right now.
Right.
The people who stand to make the most out of marijuana legalization are pharmaceutical companies. That's why they make.
That's not true.
Well, it is. If you look at the biggest supplement companies,
because
it's
you
owned by
can't-
the same pharmaceutical
but you
companies.
can't patent
and the
a
one
plant.
Yes, you can. They've patented seven at
You can
least.
patent
Curtin,
strains that are
7
GMOs.
chemicals- No. 7 active chemical compounds in pot that have been patented as drugs. They've gone through the process.
Yeah,
There's
but you
one
can't
that's really
patent it
efficient.
to the point where you can't grow pot.
For those who didn't catch what just happened, Steven is basically saying Big Pharma is the one making money from weed because they patented some compounds. But Joe is saying if marijuana is legal, regular people can just grow it themselves. You don't need to buy it from a pharmacy. That's the whole point. Legalization gives people access, not just corporations.
How would you stop someone if
Well, sure
pot's
you can.
legal? If pot's legal, how would anyone? And if that's the truth, then
No.
that's a real problem.
If pot is recognized as a medicine, right? If pot is
Okay.
recognized, there is no one who would stand to gain more than pharmaceutical companies.
See, that's just not true. The whole point of legalization is that unlike a pill that only a pharmacy can manufacture, weed is literally a plant. So no matter what patents exist, people aren't locked into buying it from Big Pharma. That's Joe's point.
By providing it as
That's
medicine.
not necessarily true. If people are allowed to
Maybe
grow
it's
it
not
themselves.
necessarily true. I'll give you that. But I also think it's not necessarily true that the reason people can't smoke up is because Big Pharma is sitting somewhere, Martin Shkreli going, oh, let's make pot illegal.
Well, not that
That's
guy.
my only point.
But there are absolutely people who have lobbied, as we talked about how the prison guard union has lobbied to keep marijuana illegal. There's absolutely pharmaceutical companies have done the same thing. It was revealed in the WikiLeaks memos.
As you can see, Joe is explaining it calmly and breaking it down in a way anyone can understand. But then Steven cuts him off mid-sentence, and that's when things start to heat up. Joe just drops the F word.
See, this is where I was saying don't
hold
care
on,
about
don't
this.
interrupt me, you fuck. Where Hillary Clinton said that she's against marijuana in every sense of the word, right? You remember those
pretty
WikiLeaks
against it,
papers
too.
that came out?
Yeah.
Now, after getting shut down and seeing his other arguments crumble one by one, Steven tries to pull out another piece of nonsense. He says using marijuana increases traffic accidents. But Joe doesn't let that slide for a second. He pushes back hard and calls him out right away.
But another thing that we just wrote about, and again, people get mad with the weed
Economics.
issue. Well, no, traffic fatalities regarding marijuana have skyrocketed.
Google that, because that's nonsense.
No,
you
we
know,
wrote about it
drunk
at
driving,
loudandbetter.com.
drunk driving arrests have dropped. What do you mean you've? First of all,
Yeah, we wrote about what the sources
first of
there, the
all,
original studies.
Just because someone gets in an accident and they're high,
See,
because
Do you notice how Steven keeps interrupting Joe mid-sentence? He just jumps in every time Joe tries to explain something. Well, Joe finally had enough of it. He straight up calls him out and shuts him up.
hold on, stop.
No, hold on a second. This is
you
because you just
interrupt
want-
way too much.
No, no,
You need to stop.
you talk in
hold on a
paragraphs.
second. No. I don't talk in
Go ahead.
paragraphs. I make full points.
It's funny how Steven tries to defend himself by saying, "You talk in paragraphs," as if that's some kind of excuse for constantly interrupting. No, man, that just means Joe actually explains his point fully.
If people are high a lot and the same amount of fatalities exist, but the people that get checked once they get into these accidents, happen to be high, it does not necessarily mean that marijuana caused those fatalities. It could be that you have an increased incidence of people doing marijuana and altercations that could not have been avoided.
It could be.
It could be.
But the statistical change is measurable.
Well, what
from
is it?
pre and
You're
post.
talking about in Colorado.
In states where it's been decriminalized or
Let's
legalized.
go with Colorado. Pull it up,
Hold on
Jamie.
a second. You just said, let me make my point. Again, my point is I don't care about it.
Yeah, you do.
No, I really don't.
You don't care about
here's
people
the thing.
dying,
You
you
get
son of a
you get
bitch.
so touchy about it because someone says, you know what, if people want to smoke up, fine. I just don't really buy the arguments that everyone is in some big conspiracy to try and snuff it out.
No, there
and
are
the
some.
idea and the idea that the drug war will end and the idea that it cures cancer. I just don't buy that. And
Well,
people
it
get
does.
so upset.
Well, listen,
That's my only point. That's why I
scientific
wouldn't talk about
studies
it.
have proven that it shrinks tumors, that it helps people with cancer. Much like turmeric, much like any things that reduce inflammation, including
Turmeric,
CBD
ginger,
oil.
tart cherry.
Right, but it's not necessarily
fighting for
a
those to be-
magical. They're all legal, and there's no issue because they're not psychoactive.
Right.
But they are beneficial. So all these things are good. Marijuana is one of the things that are good. And don't shore, man. Just like you don't shore turmeric, you don't shore ginger, you don't shore a reduced sugar diet. All those things that reduce inflammation are good for you.
I don't buy that smoking marijuana would be as beneficial as a reduced sugar diet. And my point is that people
you
get
might
so
be-
offended
you
by
might
me
be
saying that
correct.
and saying, but if you want to smoke, go ahead.
You might be correct,
Shouldn't be
but
offensive.
it doesn't matter because it's not a fucking contest to see what's the most beneficial. The question is it beneficial and is it damaging?
It is. It does matter. The
What's
fact
damaging?
That you said no. Let me finish my point. It does matter. You said, what would you not talk about? I said probably pot because I don't care. Well, what do you think
You
about it?
definitely
I said,
care. That's
this
why
is
you're
what I
arguing
think
with me
about
about it.
And your eyes
Lying.
light up, and all of a
Lying
sudden,
bitch. You
where
cares?
ideology and
You care
worldviews
like crazy.
shouldn't be discussed.
No, you
You're
care.
going to laser in like a tractor beam on the most important issue of the day that I said I don't care.
You're the guy that thinks people should be able to do whatever. You're a free
Yes,
market guy,
that's
right?
what I just said.
So if you're a free
Smoke
market
pot.
guy, why wouldn't you be in support of something, whether it's the most
I just
beneficial
said I am.
or equally
I just
beneficial?
said I am.
But you're not necessarily because
I
you're
am.
denying.
But because
you're
right now of the
denying-
chemical compounds,
Hold on, fuckface. You're
Watch
denying.
it. Come on. It's been a good
Come on,
conversation.
We're friends. I'm just joking. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado are at
Hold on a
near
second.
historic lows.
You have been bringing up the source that you want to find.
Washington
Bring up the
Post.
study right there. Yeah, Washington Post. Bring up the study that we wrote. We wrote about it on our website.
Look, I don't care about your website, you fuck. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado
Since you
are
called me
at
hold on a second.
near
Since you called me
historic
since you called me a
lows.
fucking puss, and you do this with the crazy lady at a
come
comedy
on,
club,
buddy, I
you
like
think if
you.
you scream enough that it makes a point. My point is, I don't care
don't
about
think
it.
that if we
Smoke
scream
up.
enough-
And you just said I was interrupting. You're interrupting now and
Listen,
screaming.
because
I don't
Jamie
care about it
put
enough.
up a post, and you're not.
But I don't
you're
buy
ignoring
that
it.
it's as valuable as a low sugar diet. And the fact
Doesn't have to
the
be
fact
as
that
valuable.
you can't have a conversation about this as civilly as you did every other issue tells me that there's
not true.
there's a problem. This
It's not
is
true.
this is a TNT powder keg.
I can.
This
The
issue
problem
with
is
pot.
I get very defensive when people start talking over me, and you started it first. But the reality is that a low sugar diet is fine.
Sure.
It's good too.
If you want to see more breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more.